4A, report to overlapping taxing units. Each year, the RDC must provide a presentation at a meeting at the Redevelopment Commission and shall invite the governing bodies of the taxing units that have territory within an allocation area to the RDC. Amy.
Good morning. As
Good
you
morning.
mentioned, this is an annual report, and we have Gary Reedy, Gary Smith, and Vicki Smith with Reedy
Taking over the
Financial.
whole business.
I know, right? We're all Smiths here, so I don't know what I was thinking. So he's going to do a presentation for you, as he has in the past, so I will turn it over to Gary.
Thank you, Amy. This is year 3, I think, for many of you, the TIF impact presentation. So I'll go over some basic things, 101 style reporting requirements for those of you that are new. Amy had mentioned before some of the annual reporting requirements. The very first page of the presentation just goes over all of them. So this is all of the statutory reporting requirements that a redevelopment commission is subject to. April 1st report, 15th report, we have a June 15th report, there's an August 1st deadline for certified net assessed values, TIF neutralization. That's not necessarily this board, but it is something that we track. What this meeting is specifically addressing is prior to December 1st, or I'm sorry, your spending plan is also prior to December 1st. What we're discussing is the final bullet point, which is prior to December 31st, the end of year TIF impact presentation. So the statute does outline some specific items that we need to go over annually, including Redevelopment Commission's financial data and budgets, long-term TIF plans, and also a final discussion on TIF impact. And I'd like to start these conversations off with just some general definitions, probably review for most of you, but just kind of defining what economic development areas are, allocation areas, in case you hear those things. So economic development area with a plan to increase employment opportunities and attract new businesses or retain or expand that EDA, or they can be one and the same. That's actually where we're generating a parcel list with a meets and bounds description of a specific portion of the city. And there's a parcel list, and that would be referred to as the allocation area. So as values are generated within that allocation area, we're capturing those values for subsequent economic development. And then finally, tax increment finance, or TIF, is just kind of the general term you hear for what I just described, capturing increment and then using that for economic development purposes, TIF. So that's common terminology that you'll hear. The very next sections on the financial position, I won't spend a lot of time on this. It's just required to be in the report. So this is the revenue and expenditure amounts projected for this year. So this is allocated, by allocation area specific. Obviously on the city's ledger, we have funds for each allocation area as we're supposed to. So we're tracking beginning year balance, revenues, expenditures, and then year ending fund balances as well. The next, looks like 3 pages are specifically all of those areas there that you can look through.
In your balance, are funds available?
Generally speaking, yes. I will caution those looking at end of year balances and saying those are usable proceeds, because lots of times any debt service obligations that you have using December property tax settlements actually go out in January. So I would say available cash is really what's used in January, netting that out of that ending cash balance. So it can be a little deceiving look at ending cash balance for that reason. In the next page, there's how TIF works. It's just a really basic overview, and again, this is very 101, but just to establish how TIF works in general. We'll start out with a chart on the right-hand side, the bottom right-hand side. We have base assessed values. So in year 0, we're capturing a parcel, putting it in an allocation area, and let's assume for purposes maybe there's nothing there, maybe there's some ag land assessed value there. That's considered the base assessed value. So that AV is part of the certified net assessed values for all the overlapping taxing units, city, county, school, township, etc. And then as things are developed within that allocation area, that through the TIF neutralization process, we can identify as new construction projects or new abatements or appeals, for instance. And then conversely, if there's properties that are raised or demolished on those properties, or the fire, for instance, or there's change in tax status, that can also influence incremental collections. But generally speaking, over time, the most common thing you'll see is there's nothing there, and then we're starting to build on that through economic development initiatives and incentives, and values expand on those properties over time, and we're capturing those values to subsequently invest in that area to begin with to generate the investment. So That's not an in perpetuity thing. We get to do it as the current statute is written for 25 years from the day that we issue debt. So each allocation area that we covered on the prior 3 pages, each one of those it'll have its own allocation area expiration date, where we are capturing, as I'm describing here, for a period of 25 years. In some instances, they fall under different statutes. All new ones are 25 years from the day that is issued. Once the 25 years is up, in this instance, that'll be the end of the TIF, and then all of the assessed value that we have been capturing within the Redevelopment Commission goes through the overlapping taxing units, and it's absorbed when they're certified net assessed value. So the very far right, you'll see what's happening there as far as all the base AV and then all the incremental AV gets absorbed by the tax base, and then the Redevelopment Commission is no longer capturing those values. So just, again, very general, basic TIF 101. Any questions on that before we move on?
Is there a chance that the TIF the expiration date can be extended?
No. The only opportunity for that was in 2015. There was old legacy allocation areas that didn't have expiration dates back then. And then the statute was modified where they said basically in 2015, all legacy allocation areas either expire when your next debt expires or 2035. 2025, it's 2025. So they gave you a 10-year extension there. So lots of communities have, debt outstanding on those legacy TIF areas through 2032 or 2033, for instance. So you'll see some of those are the older TIFs.
And then the reason for the 25 years, because most of the municipal bonds and stuff are 20.
Yeah, revenue bonds can go out to 25 years.
Okay.
When you put property tax components behind it, then that's a 20-year limit. But revenue bonds, we can do pure TIF deals for 25 years.
Okay.
So you'll see a lot of developer purchase TIF bonds utilizing that 25-year life for that reason.
Okay.
Yep. Any other comments on that? The next section inside the RDC, again, we're itemizing each allocation area. At the county level, you have TIF district codes that's assigned to them. So we've got those illustrated there if anyone was ever interested in looking at it. Next to that, we have the taxing districts. So that's just a specific taxing district code that tells you what taxing district it's in, what blend of property taxes are in that area. And then out to the far right is the Pay 2025 incremental certification. So that's the actual values at an assessed value level that we're capturing from the tax base for purposes of TIF. Those aren't collection numbers, those are just simply the assessed value numbers. And those go on for the next 3 pages. And then total is about 1.3, 1.4 billion across all of Noblesville. And to put that into context, I've got this graphical illustration here that we've compared Noblesville to some of their peers. Carmel, Fishers, Westfield, Noblesville, you'll see 20% of the overall assessed value in Carmel is captured within their TIF allocation area, 11% for Fishers, 12% for Westfield, 25% for Noblesville. And you can almost think of this, I like to think of this as creating future growth. Through all the initiatives of the Redevelopment Commission, we've created this new growth that would not have otherwise been there, which ultimately will expand the tax base in the future, which we consider a good thing. So next one's the but-for test, and I think everyone's pretty familiar with that now. Anytime we establish a new allocation area, we have to satisfy that but-for test. The development and the capture of the increment would not occur if it was but for the incentive to begin with. So again, if we don't provide an incentive, we don't get a development to begin with. So that's what's justifying the capture. So wanted to highlight that point there. And then TIF impact questions. So this is really the purpose of today, is talking about TIF impact itself. And I'll just read this slide here before we move on to the actual impacts. And through the efforts of the Redevelopment Commission, significant value has been created within the city of Noblesville as a result of economic development incentive. We highlighted that as 25% on the prior slides. This information to follow is intended to demonstrate the value that overlapping units will receive upon the expiration of various allocation areas from the Noblesville Redevelopment Commission. Benefits can be derived in one of 2 ways. There'll be annual increases in certain rate-driven funds. So right now, the city, for instance, is capped at 5 cents for cum cap funds. If we put more assessed value into the tax pool, that 5 cents goes longer, you get additional revenue. So that's where rate-driven funds are potentially impacted. And then the second way is net reduction in overall circuit breaker tax credits. So again, as we're releasing assessed value to the tax base, there will be a subsequent alleviation on circuit breaker tax credits for the overlapping units. And we've quantified those in the future pages. So this next one's, again, the most important slide, the impact on overlapping units. So we've got it itemized, sorted from largest to smallest. on what this impact looks like. So Noblesville, Civil City, again, once all these allocation areas expire, if they, we flip the switch and they all expire today, the city of Noblesville circuit breaker reduction, so they would collect additional revenue, would be about $7.8 million. The rate-driven fund example that I shared earlier with CCD would be about $694,000. So Noblesville alone would benefit about 48% of the overall impact, and you can see all the ones below that, 3.7 for the school corporation, 2.5 for Hamilton Southeastern Schools, 1.8 for Hamilton County, and then several smaller ones there with the smaller units. But again, that's new value that will be generated from that 25% that we've created. So that's how we like to look at that. And if you go to the very far right in the green box, you can put that in context with what that would mean for their annual budget. So again, once all that's released, the city of Noblesville's got a new funding source of about 6.69% of their annual budget. Just to put those numbers into context, for Noblesville schools, it's about 2.23, and then various smaller ones below that. Any questions on that point? So the prior page was, really macro. The next one is a little bit more micro, positive impact on school referendums. So referendum rates actually capture TIF AV. So any value we're generating, that 25% we spoke to, the referendum rates actually do get to capture that. So what that does for them is it actually drives their tax rate down. So that's a good thing. We've invested in the city. We've done these economic development initiatives. We've got 25% of our assessed value coming into the TIF allocation areas. Now the referendum funds are capturing those, and it's driving the tax rates down. So the very, very far right, we say 2025 rate without TIF. These are the referendum rates for the school corporation and for Hamilton Southeastern. Both of them have an operating and a debt referendum. I'll just point out one example, Noblesville School Corporation. If we had the referendum without TIF, without that 25% in there, the rate would be 39 cents, almost 40 cents. And then what the actual rate for 2025 is about 34 cents. So about 5 cents overall that the TIF is impacting the referendum rates in a positive way. And you can see the different impacts for the 4 different funds we've highlighted. But the next slide actually demonstrates what that looks like in terms of tax savings for taxpayers. Because again, referendums also outside of circuit breaker tax caps. So we've got $400,000 assessed value home, $500,000 assessed value home, $1 million assessed value home. And you can see what the bill with TIF and without TIF is and what the actual tax savings are. So again, using that Noblesville School Corporation for the referendum operating fund, the tax savings on the $400,000 homestead's about $229 per year, again, because of that 25% new assessed value that's driving that tax rate down. So I consider that a positive impact and one we just wanted to highlight here.
Can I ask a clarification
Yes,
question on
yes,
the
sir.
previous slide?
Yep.
So when you're saying the rate without the TIF, you're saying to pull the same levy, just for clarity, right? So
Right.
to pull the same levy,
Right.
it would take the rate all the way on the right-hand side?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you got it. So the next slide, TIF allocation areas by expiration date. We keep talking about, what's going to happen when these TIF allocation areas expire in some of these legacy allocation areas. So there's really 2, I think, that are within the planning window here. One is Stony Creek East, and one is Noblesville Commerce Park. Commerce Park, we have tentatively flagged for a 2027 expiration date. That is, subject to legal interpretation. When the declaratory resolution was established, what statute it falls under, whether it's a pay year or assessment year. Based on how we read it, we've estimated 2027 as an estimated expiration year for Noblesville Commerce Park. Same sentiment for Stony Creek East, 2032. So what happens with those areas once they expire is they'll no longer be neutralized. The base on those properties and the increment on those properties will become one and the same as we illustrated on the chart. And that will flow through to the tax base of the school, the city, the county, et cetera. And that creates different opportunities. We mentioned, potential reduction in circuit breaker. We mentioned potential additional increases in CCD. And to the extent that it could drive tax rates down because of that, there could be opportunities for capital funding to keep that tax rate neutral as well. So lots of opportunities to study. Obviously, for the redevelopment commission, those revenues are going away. So we plan for that, and we look forward to that in the future. And then we've got all those illustrated on the next three slides as well. So again, we've got TIF expiration dates, earliest dates, we went ahead and just put the most recent 5 in there, so we'll keep tracking these year over year and keep having the same conversation as these roll off. But there's the 5 next areas projected to expire. With that, that's the presentation. Kind of went quickly there. Is there any questions or things I can go back and touch on again?
Is there, although we can't extend a TIF, can we expire it early?
So every year, there's a determination on TIF pass-through. So June 15th, you make that determination.
Right.
I'm sure you could, if you wanted to, terminate your allocation area at any time you could.
I'm sure that we could, and effectively, yeah, as Gary said, you can do a pass-through, so you could determine that we've collected this, but it's not being used, and we're gonna pass it through.
That's not the same as expiring the district.
It's not the same, no. But, I mean, we could go back and just say.
Well, I mean,
"No,
I was
we're
just
gonna-"
thinking if all our bond obligations are paid for and everything's
Yeah,
paid for,
sure.
It depends on what you want to accomplish. I mean, Noblesville's a pretty low circuit breaker community. For that reason, you're not impacting your overlapping units in really a material way, I would say. I mean, obviously the numbers, and you can read those and come to your own conclusion. But those allocation areas are generating far more revenue within the allocation area itself than they would if they were released. It's probably a factor of, 90 cents, more revenue staying in the redevelopment commission versus if you passed it through, it may be, 10 cents, for instance. So that's a common misconception is if we capture $100, that if we absolve the redevelopment commission, that $100 gets shared with everyone else, and it doesn't work that way.
But we did consolidate several tips, so.
that was good.
That was
Anybody have
good,
any
yeah.
questions?
Good information.
Thank you.
Anything needs to be
Thanks.
corrected? I appreciate your time.
Yeah,
Thank
absolutely.
you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much.
Being that was just an update, we will move on to 4B, the granary. Resolution number 2025-09, commission to consider confirmatory resolution to establish the granary economic development area and the granary allocation area. Chuck?
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
So this is the confirmatory to follow up with the declaratory that you saw at the September meeting. Since then, the Plan Commission and the Common Council approved the economics plan and the Plan Commission order. And so this item does require a public hearing. I believe that is in your notes as well. If you would like to open
Sure.
or have some discussion.
At
if
this
there's
point,
questions.
I'll open a public hearing on resolution number 2025-09. Is there anyone from the public that wants to step up front and address this? Have any questions or concerns? Seeing no one from the public, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing for resolution number 2025-09.
Second.
Second, there's a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Then we will move on to approving the confirmatory resolution for 2025-09 to establish the granary economic development area and the granary allocation area.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
On to 4B2, resolution number 2025-10, commission to consider a resolution approving the pledge of TIF revenues. Chuck.
So this resolution approves the pledge of TIF generated in the new allocation area to be captured, collected, and then pledged to the debt service payment on the development-backed bond, purchase bond, that will be issued. This also authorizes us to release cash that we have on hand to the bond trustee in the tune of 6.7, up to 6.7 to complete the rest of the incentive that's been pledged through the EDA. So if there's any questions on that.
6.7 million.
Yeah, sorry, what did I say?
Any discussion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution number 2025-10.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thanks, Chuck.
Thank you.
On to 4C, Hyde Park, Resolution Number 2025-11, Commission to consider a declaratory resolution amending the Hyde Park Economic Development Area to create the Avanzi at Hyde Park Project Allocation Area and the Village at Hyde Park Project Allocation Area. Amy.
Good morning. Good morning. So earlier this year, you had a few items regarding Hyde Park, and you were presented with an update. We're going to give you another update today. Andy Broker and John Kirkwood with Fakery Drinker are here. So I'll let them give you an update, and then we'll talk about the resolution, if that's okay.
Sure.
Awesome.
Okay.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, Andy Baroker with Fakery Drinker. John Kirkwood, my partner, is here with me as well. We represent MAB and Hyde Park's development. Steve Ball and his son Adam were unable to be with us today. They're at a family event in Chicago, so we wanted to be here. Bill Butts, our engineer on the project with Kimley Horn, is also here. If you have questions about what's below the dirt, perhaps, Bill knows where all the pipes are buried, literally and figuratively. So we provided a quarterly update earlier this week to the city, and just give you a brief update on Hyde Park. The project agreement was originally approved in January of 2022. Since then, the timeline originally was projected to sort of be finished by 2032. We're well ahead of that schedule, and as Gary was talking about what TIF does, I'm pleased to report a little bit about our progress and what great things are happening over on Brook School Road between 136th Street north to Campus Parkway. We have 6 residential areas that are being developed, and I'll give you a brief update on those. With the TIF dollars and the obligation of Hyde Park, they were committed to do or invest about $40 million in that area, in improving the area directly on infrastructure alone, which is why the project agreement with the city allows us to bond for that amount, to have that recouped over the 25 years over time with TIF dollars. So we've incurred, MAB has incurred $27.6 million of work completed to date since 2022, with $20.69 million left to complete. But really the bulk of that's done. So cut, fill, and conversion on flood ground is completely finished. 146th Street connection, the 2 wings are complete. The bridge is the last piece to be completed. That'll be done by the end of next December. So having that go all the way through with the bridge and everything, that's about 40% complete, with the bridge the only thing left to do. Park improvements are about 80% complete. We've been talking with the parks about turning over that land and all the land that we've created, in addition to possibly creating a new trailhead to the park along 141st Street. So I've had good discussions with the park department, with the city. Regional detention is 100% complete. Earthwork is complete. That consists of over 1.2 million cubic yards of dirt moved since 2022. A whole lot. How many dump truck loads is that, Bill? I won't ask him to say. Several, but that's a lot of work. And then water line extensions are 100% complete, which is why you're seeing residential development out there. Sanitary sewer regional lift stations, 100% complete. Legal drain reconstruction is 100% complete, and sanitary sewer line extensions to the area to be developed are 100% complete. Just a list of the projects briefly. The projects, in addition to these 2 that you'll hear the declaratory resolution on today, consists of over 1,450 residential units in that area between, along Brook School Road, between Campus Parkway and 136th. Also 50,000 square feet of retail. We have a dentist under construction now that will be open by January. That's the first real retail space, but there's 50,000 square feet up and along that corridor yet to be developed and filled in. So J.C. Hart is under construction. Move-ins are expected this fall to 358 units. Edward Rosenson's 295 units over 2 phases. Framing will start this winter. Berkeley Investment is right at Campus Parkway and Brook School Road, and that's 216 units. There'll be 20,000 square feet of retail at that corner. Empire Development, which is the Village, which is on your declaratory resolution today, that's 256 units. They are expected to start construction in December. Trinitas, which is the Avanza component of your declaratory resolution, that's 237 units, and they are ready to start construction this month in October. Fisher Homes is 71 units. They are moving dirt, and sales are expected to start in the spring of 2026. And then again, I mentioned 50,000 square foot of retail and Hyde Park Dentistry. Dr. Hopkinson is currently under construction. So that's just a brief update of all that's going on. Will be done ahead of time. I think it'll be beautiful. Many folks we talked to, Jim Hellman included, drive by that every day and see the vertical improvements going up along that pathway. So we've really done a whole lot of work, and it continues. And so with the declaratory resolution for these next two projects for bonding for those, that will get us further along. We'll really only be left with a couple in 2026 to finish bonding with. Happy to answer questions, as is Bill Butts, our engineer, if you have any on things in the dirt or coming out of the ground. Happy to answer those questions, and appreciate you taking an interest in Hyde Park in Noblesville.
I've been sitting up here for 30 years, and that is the biggest earth movement project I have ever seen. I mean, that was
Moved
a lot of
Yeah.
We
infrastructure.
created a whole new, 100-acre park there that we'll dedicate to the city. I mean,
Yeah,
didn't come without its troubles with FEMA and floodplain and permit issues and a lot of other things, but
and put that in perspective, our nicest park, Forest Park, is only 90 acres. So this is
That's big.
phenomenal.
yeah, pathways are installed. 90% of the trails are installed and will connect to all those residences, over 1,400 residences that I talked about. So it'll be a really nice amenity for them and for the city.
Yes. Anybody else have any comments, questions?
And what are the price range of the homes?
Most of them are rental, so.
Most of them are rentals, so
yeah.
there's no single family,
No,
all rentals? There's
townhomes that are for sale,
that are for
Yeah.
sale, okay.
and I don't have
Okay, that's okay. So most, yeah. I'm just thinking about a school impact. It's obviously not Noblesville schools, it would be HSC, but the impact that would have on HSC.
Yeah, we're in the middle of a redistricting project now,
Yeah.
anticipating the growth in that space.
Thank you. Okay, you want to hear from John on the declaratory resolution briefly about what's exactly?
Happy to answer any questions that you have. Amy knows the specific area for Avanza, so I'll let her talk about the area. But you'll recall that on this project agreement, we were going to kind of issue the bonds as we went. So they were doing work, and then as they were ready to issue the bonds, we'd create a new area and then issue the bonds. So we're ready to do the next phase for the next bonds to be issued in the relatively near future. So she can tell you exactly what projects are involved in that area.
So you can see on this map, this is the whole Hyde Park area. Earlier this year, we established, it was a few years ago, we established the Hyde Park Economic Development and Allocation Area. And so today, we are here to create two new allocation areas within this bigger area for the Avanza at Hyde Park and Village at Hyde Park projects. I will show you a map for each of these.
Amy, are we adding additional, or are we carving out a section of the original?
So we're carving out a section of the original. So it's going to
Okay.
stay the economic development area is going to stay the same. And then we're breaking out a new
Okay.
area for each of these projects.
Gotcha.
Yes. So you can see on this map, this is for the Avanza project. This is the lower half of the Hyde Park area. You see Brook School and then 136th Street right here. And then the Village project is up in the northwest corner of that same area, in this green shaded area. And these, the increment received from these, we will pledge a portion of the increment at a later date, but that's the plan, to use that towards debt service. I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Any discussion? That's a clue. Any discussion?
I'd like to move for resolution number 2025-11.
Second.
Motion a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. And now on to 4D, TIF funds, bank transfer, approval of signers for TIF fund account.
Good morning, Board. I'm Caitlin Kastner, Deputy Controller. So we are in the process of moving the TIF funds to their own bank account. This is something that we've considered doing in the past and now have an opportunity to do with Farmers Bank. So just asking that you approve of the signers, which would be Jeff, the CFO and Controller, myself, and Heather Trexler, our accounting manager. These signers are consistent with all of our other operating bank accounts, and this is just something that the bank needed us to do.
What was the process in picking the bank? Well, farmers, but I think it's the.
Yeah, thanks, Commission. Matt Light, Deputy Mayor, so thanks for the question on that. As Caitlin mentioned, we had been talking about kind of part of our larger strategies on looking at all the different funds that are controlled by the city and its entities, where those could be invested and where we could earn interest earnings to maximize the value of those dollars. And to take the TIF dollars and to put them in a different institution than where they're currently at. So as we were looking at that, we've had conversations with multiple local institutions, and Farmers is one that is enhancing their investment in Noblesville, so showed a lot of interest in if there was a good opportunity for, depending on the types of accounts that we were looking at, for us to move there. And we looked at their interest rates compared to some other options, and they appeared to be one of the best ones for us.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that.
So it's just basically a transfer from one institution to the other.
Yeah.
Correct.
The commission still has a control over it, and
Yes.
instead of so much, I don't want to call it commingling, but the council has a general fund, and now the TIF area is out by itself.
Helps to provide that benefit of clean separation between the
I
funds and
understand,
accounts.
I understand.
Makes sense.
Very good. Any questions?
Motion to approve the TIF fund bank transfer, approval of signers.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying
Just
aye.
real quick for vote.
Motion carries.
We'll just show it's in the memo of who those signers are, so just want to make sure the minutes show that it's Jeff Spalding, Caitlin Kestner, and Heather Trexler. Thanks.
As she said. Is there any additional business before the commission? Seeing none, we are adjourned. Thank you for attending.